Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest version of Tales from Outer Space, where I take an HFY story from somewhere around the internet and read it aloud for your enjoyment. All the relevant links are down below. Like, subscribe, and all that YouTube comf to help this video and channel grow. Anyways, as always, I hope that you enjoy. I would just like to thank the following Tier 5 patrons and channel members for supporting the channel: Datamagnet and Bob the Dragon. Thank you again. And now, on to the story. It Didn't Have a Bayonet, written by endersgame69. That was what the alien from Earth said when I showed off one of our weapons to intimidate him. Now that I have your attention, please read the report in full. On the 17th day of the 9th cycle of the year, I was assigned to make first contact with a newly unified spacefaring world known by its inhabitants as Planet Dirt. For the unfamiliar, it was first discovered when backtracking one of their old extrasolar probes and set under observation in a year most of their nations referred to as 2021. Over the next 100 years, we watched it technologically stagnate in terms of its spacefaring potential, but strangely enough, they began a steady process of unification. If only we knew. But we didn't know. They weren't the only ones being observed. We'd been spotted. One of the few things to leave Earth for years had been these small, microchip-sized probes. With fairly good solar panels and very low density, they were shot towards the stars in such a way that the gravity of the stars would slingshot them at the speed of light in multiple directions. We assumed that we were undetected. After all, we weren't on the same light spectrum as they were looking for. But here was where I later learned their genius showed itself. They sought energy signatures. They found us, but we didn't know it. We were watching them, and we still didn't know it. Let that sink in. The dominant species on this world at first seems fragile. They are not taller than almost any race that we knew, nor are they equipped with natural weapons like poison or fangs. But their muscles could pull what they call 17 tons if all the muscles in a single body could pull in one direction. They also are shockingly hard to kill. They have been seen to fight until they bleed to death. Put simply, they kill until they run out of murder fuel, if provoked. Then they were unifying, and it was because of us. We believed they'd been stagnant in a dangerous tech, with our observations showing only that they were curing disease and advancing energy production and construction. That was our folly. We never thought about what lay within Planet Dirt, or beneath the sea, or what we ourselves had taught them. Their probes robbed us blind and sent data, and with it, ideas back to them. They made tools to watch us directly, and they learned from our military drills and mock battles. Finally, at last, we chose to initiate contact. Per the usual rule, it was warp capability that drove us. We didn't know that they'd had it for years. I brought my ship into orbit and revealed it. Or so I thought, but I had already been revealed. They answered my transmission with what passed for courtesy in their customs, and after a few pleasantries, I began to boast about my ship and my people. Sadly, reading this race was difficult, and I thought I saw fear. I was wrong. They were abused. I offered a weapon demonstration. They agreed. A big side of meat was procured, and I drew my plasma gun, fired, and watched it disintegrate. This was my first indication that something was wrong. I've been first contact with 27 worlds. Fear and panic were obvious every time. People would run or hide or start making offers of submission. These primates did not. Rather, one of the war apes, soldiers they called them, sauntered over while the others continued to drink poison and asked why I had such a stupid, ineffectual weapon. Before I explain, you must be wondering about poison. To put it in short, this war primate species poisons itself for pleasure by drinking fermented liquid and inhaling toxic smoke. The less said of either, the better. But back to the war primate. I was confused and pointed to the half-disintegrated cider cow. He looked over my scales and pointed to my weapon, and said first, "It doesn't have a bayonet, so how can you gut someone?" He then produced a small, gas-powered sidearm and fired it into the cow. Now, I am fond of arms, and have never thought much of primitive projectiles. But he brought me to the remainder of the flesh of the beast. The hole going in was small. But then he showed me the rest. He said, "An instantly lethal weapon sounds good, but the wounded are demoralizing and require care. And if you want to kill quickly, bullets do horrendous damage. It goes in small, then spirals around, tearing up organs and leaving a howling, agonizing, and dying body. Plus there's room for a knife on the long guns." I knew then that I was in trouble, and it was redoubled as I was invited to the launch. I asked what they meant. We'd seen no space activity for years, and their ambassador explained, "We've watched you too, and built a fleet beneath the surface of the Earth. Now we're ready to go say hello back." It was absurd on the face, but I accepted his invitation, and we went in one of their hydrogen-powered cars over to the launch site. "Your ships taught us a lot. I should thank you for that. You were my son's favorite video game." That was what he told me, but I needed an explanation, which he obliged to give me. Our military drills had been turned into competitions here, where simulated AIs of us would be fought against. Our ships can beat yours easily now, so the new games aren't as popular, but the originals are classics. He said that with a casual air that made my entire body tense, and stayed that way until we got to the place of flat ground with one high platform built. The other war apes and I ascended the metal stairs in silence, and I watched the ground open up before me. I'll spare this report on the speeches, because the important thing is that the ships were real. Long, sleek things. They were a swarm, and I had to ask, "What will carry all of those?" He pointed to a distant white screen, and I heard a roar of a parting ocean, the sea torn asunder by a huge white metal ship rising up. The source of the warp signature. That was it. Nor was it alone. My communicator went off. My crew was panicking. Each ship was 3 or 4 times larger than our own, and energy readings were off the charts. I looked at the war ape, and he told me to answer it. I calmed my crew, told them not to worry. Everything would be fine. I was fairly sure I was lying. No species lies this long before revealing their hand unless it's the end of the game. A long game that is now done. "Welcome to Earth," he said, his lips turning up at the corners, a gesture I couldn't match. But I could say thank you. I did, without thinking. Then I asked, "Where are those going?" He answered very calmly, "To your home world, of course. You were kind enough to visit us. Now we're going to return the kindness to you." On screen, the view of the rising ships was fading out, and I was watching a game in which our simulated ships fought those of their war apes, and it seemed realistic, and we did not fare well. So, to my counsel, I say this. I've seen devious races, clever races, war races, predator and prey races. But I've never seen one that was all of these. For over 100 years they conned us and prepared for a single hour under our noses. We imagined that we were unbeatable. We imagined that we were fierce. But that's all it was. Imagination. They let me go to deliver my report, and now I race back home with only a short head start. There is no time to prepare a military response, and I can't imagine one would bring about any more than our own destruction. War apes who think guns need knives and who will add fake limbs to ruined bodies to keep getting are coming. We must make sure they come in peace or are all dead. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.